Okay, spoilers ahead. I just finished watching the first episode of Matt Colville's new stream, The Chain. And yeah, controversial to say the least. I'm sure what Matt did worked for his purposes, and this isn't a video about player trust. But in my experience, if you try to pull that, you're going to have a really unhappy table. You're going to have a bad time. There are other ways to get your players to hate your villain. There are already 100 videos out there about creating player buy-in and already 100 blog posts about how to make a great villain. So I'm not going to talk about those. What I am going to talk about is a specific mix of the two. How to get your players to hate a villain. And how to get them to hate that villain without hating you as the DM. I think I got 4 tips in here, so I'm gonna put the best one first and the most sophisticated one last. Probably gonna be a short video, let's see. Okay, best advice first. Kill their puppy. I mean it. Give the players in-game a puppy. Let them play with it, let them have some fun, really play up its cuteness and innocence, and then have your villain kill it. Make sure you describe how it whimpers. It doesn't even have to be a puppy, or a cat for that matter. Anything that in the story they have a joyful attachment to makes a great target for villainous cruelty, especially if it has a connotation of innocence. Now, it's important not to single out an individual player or to take something away or have the villain take away something of mechanical significance. That can really easily backfire and lead to some really bad feelings towards the DM. Rather, what you should be targeting, what you should think of having the villain take away is appropriately named for a puppy, the fluff. That is some like story narrative dressing. Next one, be a dick. The players hate having their characters taunted. The players hate having their characters being treated with contempt. For some reason, whenever a villain or a bad guy treats a character with disrespect, the players take it really personally. They feel like the villain is disrespecting them rather than their character. The players will desperately want the opportunity of, I'll show him. And that's what you want. What you don't want is the players to feel like you as the DM are disrespecting them as people. And so you pull this off in a couple of ways. My favorite way is to agree, be on the player's side. How rude. I agree. Oh, she's such an ass. Yeah, she's awful. Immediately agreeing with your players and getting offended along with them is a great way to let the players know that you're on their side. If you have a player who's really heavily invested in their character's backstory, and their place in the world, this is a great way to get those players to hate a villain. What you want to do is take an in-game goal, something that player wanted to accomplish in the game world, and then have the villain remove the possibility. They wanted to visit that lucky shrine, destroyed by bone raiders. They wanted to reconcile with their father, killed by a dragon. This is one they should try to pull off mid-campaign. It works best if the character had an opportunity to pursue that goal, to have a chance to do the thing they wanted to do, but then decided to postpone it, to decide to do a side mission or go on another quest instead. That way it feels like they're not being railroaded. You are not just denying their backstory. They chose to give the villain an opportunity to take what they wanted away from them. And I can pretty much guarantee whatever their new goal is going to be revenge. This one is a bit more sophisticated and will probably only work with some groups, but it's really great when you can pull it off. It has fantastic emotional resonance. There is a Latin phrase, corruptio optimi pessima, which means the corruption of the best is the worst. It means that the greatest villains, the best villains, are the ones that we admire, the ones that we wish we could be. There are people out there, if only I had that strength, if only I had that power, if only I had that money or that brilliance, I could do so much. I could do so much good. And yet this person who is gifted with those things, who could be great, they fail. They're a villain who would be a paragon, except their love of power overwhelmed them. They are unable to see the worth in those different from themselves. Or they have an obsession with vengeance, or a blind belief in the righteousness of their cause that drives them to do evil acts. Or, when it came time to choose the greater good, they couldn't. The best villains are tragic heroes. When we see them fail, it reminds us of our own imperfections. And we hate them for it. So yeah, I kill characters all the time, but never just to progress the story, never just to make the characters hate somebody else. Killing a character outright feels bad in a different way than hurting a character otherwise. For all players, universally, their character is their entry into the world. It's the projection of themselves into this experience that we're all sharing. And that act of creativity is a deeply personal process. You're putting a bit of yourself, a bit of your soul out there for others to see. So a character dying, a person's creation being destroyed, does and should feel bad. But destroying another person's creativity, another person's creative work, simply because mine is cooler and they need to know that, generally is not going to go over all that well. The characters' deaths are always a result of their own choices. Yeah, so that's the video, folks. Pretty short one. I try not to ramble on and on and on, even though that's what YouTube kind of wants me to do. So if you like this style, let me know by liking and subscribing to make more videos like this. And I know I probably forgot a whole bunch of ways to get the players to hate villains. So if you know one that I left out, make sure to let me know in the comments below. And that's what makes Robert E. Lee such a compelling villain. He was so close to being a great, honorable man. He wanted to protect his home, but his home wanted to hold other people as slaves, and he couldn't see that. When confronted with the greater good, he chose the greater evil.